What's up, Bucketheads? Welcome back to Beers and Buckets, the regular season edition. Now that we've gone through all their conference previews and fantasy basketball drafts, we didn't do week one episodes, and I think that's okay. I like getting the reactions now and getting the landscape of the season. So we are into week two now, and we decided this year that we're going to split the episodes up into two. So we'll have week two part one, and then Friday morning we'll record week two part two. So this is how it's going from now on. Before I go any further, Dal, how you been?
Pretty good. One of my roommates, was her birthday this weekend, so we got to celebrate for that. Got to see a friend from college as well who was in town for her birthday. So just hanging out here. We're going to play some pickleball later. All good things.
Nice.
And basketball's back.
Basketball's back. Yeah, and there was a lot of complaints, and I have a last call take. There's a lot of complaints about the slate of last week's games, especially opening night. And last week did not disappoint for college basketball. If you're disappointed, then you just need to be a fan of something else, because that was fun.
Or just find the right games to watch. Like, it's
I guess. I don't know. Let's do some. Let's make some money real quick. So, Home Field Apparel. If you use promo code Variety Sports at checkout, you get 15% off your first order. I love Home Field stuff. They have fantastic drops every now and again. They'll have even better stuff. Bomber jackets. I really wanted one, but I decided not to spend that money right before Christmas, so it didn't happen. But yeah, so definitely check that out. And we are also sponsored by Betalytics. You go to betalytics.com. Use code VSN for 25% off any package on betalytics.com. So get your props down. Use analytics to make you more money, or at least not lose you any money that you probably already lost or spent. So yeah, do that, and then obviously bet responsibly. You could do that by using Betalytics. So there you go. We have a show agenda for you guys. So we're going to talk a little bit about last week. We're not going to spend too much time on it. We're going to talk about some favorite games or teams from last week. And then I do have a trivia time question to stick with the theme of today's episode. The theme is Sunbelt, so just keep that in mind. Then we'll go into Shark Tank upsets. I have a beer that we want to review. We have some pickup games, and then Dal has a question of the day, and then obviously we have our last call. So let's get into it. Week one favorites. Dal, I'll let you go first.
Actually, you go first. You're the inspiration behind my name on the screen today. Plus, you have one more week one favorites than I do, so you can start.
Okay, there we go. James Madison. I mean, can't talk about them enough. If they finally played a game yesterday that didn't go into overtime, which is crazy, but if they keep on this pace, they're going to have 60 games worth of experience and 30 games on the schedule, just with the way that they have just played. But the AP poll just dropped an hour ago. They are ranked 25th, so they snuck in there, as they should be. They took down a top 5 team in Michigan State, even though it's preseason top 5, still top 5 on the record. And they were not Vegas favored in the Kent State game, went into double overtime. So the Dukes, tip my cap to you guys. You guys played awesome.
Yeah, their defense is pretty sweet. I think they're like third in the country in defense when you don't adjust for last year, like just the first 3 games. So, wait, no, that's not right. I'm reading this wrong. Anyways, regardless, they're the best team that has Duke in their name. I don't know how you can argue anything else. No one else that has Duke in their name is undefeated still. So yeah, I mean they're clearly, well, actually Duquesne, I guess. Do I count that?
Sure, why not?
Duquesne counts as Duke. All right, well then they're the other undefeated Duke team. The actual Duke is not, which is fun.
What was crazy about that game was I was planning on watching the USC Kansas State game that night, and I end up watching more of the James Madison Michigan State game than I did the Kansas State USC game, because it was just it was a better game. Obviously, went into overtime. At one point, Michigan State was up 4 with less than a minute left. I'm like, okay, they sealed this. The excitement's over. I flipped over, and then I'm texting people about the USC game, and they're like, "No, I'm watching James Madison."
Yeah, you gotta flip back.
Right now. Yeah, I went back. I had to. Yeah, it was great. Yeah,
It
good.
is crazy though. Like that wasn't like a fluke loss where they hit a bunch of threes at the end or whatever. I mean, obviously it's a fluke loss, and that Michigan State did their best Houston Rockets impression, going 1 for 20 from three. Not quite 0 for 27 in a game 7, but pretty close. But like James Madison pretty much controlled that game the entire time. It wasn't like that. It was some fluke
Yeah.
kind
And
of deal.
Raekwon Horton hit his first shot is the one that like sealed the game. I'm pretty sure the three that like put it out of reach for.
That's like Keshawn Johnson hitting that shot in the Elite Eight last year, where it was like his first bucket of the game.
Yeah, pretty crazy.
No, great game. It was like you said, if you weren't having fun opening day, then you were just watching the wrong games.
Yeah.
On that point, though, the game you were just talking about, Kansas State versus USC, I have USC's guards on here. Obviously, Isaiah Collier is the big name there just because he's the top recruit. But Boogie Ellis was probably the best player in that game. They're a crazy 1-2 punch. Going to be hard to have a backcourt that's more talented than them. There obviously are some that are on that same tier, but they should be able to carry them pretty far this year.
Yeah, they looked really good. I want to see a game where they're both really good together, Boogie and Collier. I feel like we haven't seen that totally. But so that's gonna be fun to watch. I have Baylor and Auburn as one of the favorite games. That was really, really good game. Auburn kind of controlled, and then second half, even the announcers were like, "Oh, you can't come out flat here in the second half." And Auburn absolutely did that. Baylor like wanted to push the pace. They were getting everything. Jacoby Walter went crazy. Yeah, so that was a fun game. I liked watching that one.
Yeah, I had Jacoby Walter on my list as well. Hard to talk about last week without mentioning him. I mean, there are a lot of great freshmen in this year. The talk about like this year's class, I know we've mentioned it, but this year's class being like a down class relative to other years doesn't mean there aren't a ton of super talented freshmen in college basketball this year, and he was definitely the best performer of anyone last week.
For sure. And I also had Mississippi State as keeping with the SEC theme. I also had Mississippi State on here. They were missing Tolu Smith, and who else were they missing? Were they missing Shaquille Moore too? They're missing somebody. Yeah. They absolutely rocked Arizona State, which I mean, like Arizona State, we said was going to be bad this year, but Mississippi State looked like they weren't missing anyone, and they were just killing them.
He did not.
So they definitely looked better than I thought they would to start the season. I knew they would get good, but missing Tolu Smith and Shaquille Moore, and then still beating team by double digits like that, pretty good. Trey Fort, very good at basketball.
Yeah, he had 21 and 21. What's that?
21 points, 2 rebounds, assists, a block, and a steal.
Pretty great day for him. My next one, I had UAB. If we're sticking in the South, UAB has now played. They're actually 1-2, so it's kind of weird to kind of call them out. But when you look a little deeper, they played 3 great games.
Yeah, they should have beaten Clemson. Like they absolutely should have beaten Clemson.
They blew that one. 1-point loss. They lost by 2 in overtime to Bradley, which is not a great loss. Bradley's probably around like the top in like the very bottom of the top 100. But then they bounced back on Sunday and beat a Maryland team that is like, I mean, that's a tier 1 win. And yeah, so it's just been a fun start to the year. Also, it made me realize that Jelly Walker is not on an NBA roster anywhere, which makes me kind of sad because he was so fun at the beginning of the year last year.
Yeah.
Just a fun team. And I mean, it's going to be a theme of this show, but we really just like these big matchups where, I mean, UAB is not a Power 6 school, but them going out and scheduling, great teams to start is what makes the first week of college basketball so fun.
Yeah. I also watched USF, which I know is like, wow, that kind of stinks. Football I mean, definitely. I went to the game on Saturday, and they couldn't cover. But the basketball side, I mean, they played a really bad team, and I get it. South Carolina State's not good at basketball. I get it. They still scored 96 points or something like that. What was the final? Let me find it. Where is it? I know I just saw it. Yeah, 96-52 was the final. At one point, and like I think in the first less than 10 minutes, it was like at the 10-minute mark of the first half, they had shot 19 shots total. 13 of them were from three. So Amir Abdur Rahim is definitely embracing this modern basketball brand for the Bulls, and that was really fun to watch. So yeah, that was just crazy how like 13 shots of them were three. Not all made, obviously, but they made more than half of them. They were at like 6 of 13 at that point to start the game. So pretty good numbers for a program that's desperately been needing like a shot in the arm, energy wise.
Yeah, I mean, this obviously with one game of sample size and other teams having multiple, but Jaden Reed, their starting point guard, has the highest assist rate in the country. He had 10 assists in that game.
Yeah.
So nice little double there for points and assists. Yeah, maybe the Bulls will be kind of fun this year.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Keep an eye on them for sure. Who else? What else you got?
My last two are both ACC related. I'll go on the Duke. Continue on the Duke train. The Duke Arizona game was obviously one of the better games last week. Arizona came out on top, and just made me like realize kind of how questionable Duke's depth is at the moment. They have their starting five is incredible. Tyrese Proctor and Kyle Filipowski definitely showed out as their two best guys. That's what you would expect, but it dropped off really far kind of after that, and it's definitely why they lost. It's just they just did not get enough production from the Mark Mitchells of the world. So it's just something that I feel like that we all expected Duke to be really, really good, and I think they are, but it's gonna be. They're going to have to rely on Jared McCain, Jeremy Roach, Ryan Young to really kind of take another step and be Caleb Foster, I guess, as well. But they need their other kind of pieces to really show up, because as good as Kyle Filipowski and Tyrese Proctor are, they can't carry them against the top teams.
Yeah. Yeah, they do. The depth is definitely a question. That game was back and forth. And speaking of that game, like you're talking about Duke, the Friday slate of games were just incredible. That was so much fun to watch. Trying to pull it up. So obviously the thriller there was Arizona Duke, Tennessee and Wisconsin. That was a game like the entire time. BYU San Diego State was a decent game. Texas A&M Ohio State was a good game. Virginia and Florida, like that was a back and forth. Memphis, Missouri had like a 15-point lead on Memphis, and then Memphis went on like a crazy run and never looked back. Ended up winning by 15. South Carolina, Virginia Tech, that was a good close game, and then obviously Wake and Georgia was a close game as well. That was pretty much it. But Clemson and UAB we mentioned. Yeah, there was a lot of good games on. Dayton and Northwestern, that was a solid game. So like I said, if you were like, I saw a tweet today saying that college basketball really starts this week because of Champions Classic, blah, blah, blah. Like you just weren't paying attention on Friday because there was a lot of good college basketball already on. Very fun and exciting for sure. Okay. And then my last one, which is kind of like, why are you talking about this team? Purdue Fort Wayne, the Mastodons.
That's right. That's we don't need any more other reason other than their
mascot, right? But they played DePaul, which obviously DePaul is terrible this year, like absolute trash. But they beat DePaul by 8, whatever. They played this team that's not ranked on KenPom called Andrews. Never even heard of them. The score was 130-34. They put up 130 points on this team. And then they played Texas A&M Commerce, who played Kentucky on Friday, with a very similar score. They actually scored 2 more points on Texas A&M Commerce than Kentucky did, with a score of 86-64. This is a sneaky good Purdue Fort Wayne team, and this is one that we should. Last year we learned our lesson. I say we as the college basketball fan base in general learned our lesson with not paying attention to these mid-major teams. This could be one to watch for come tournament time. You'd be like, I've never even heard of this team. Well, if you listen here, you're hearing it now. First week, Purdue Fort Wayne could be a good team for you. They're not James Madison level, but they're getting there for me.
Means we have to schedule next Wednesday. They play San Francisco. That is a good team that they will match up against. And then on Wednesday, December 20th, they play Pittsburgh. We're going to have to do a little check-in on like the 23rd of every month. For them to see how they're faring.
They also play Northern Kentucky, who's not a bad team. They gave Washington a good game, who also Washington lost to Nevada.
Wright State's solid.
They played Northern Kentucky twice, actually, so that must be a conference game. I don't even know they're a conference, but they have some decent squad, like Milwaukee.
Erasure.
Yeah. But that's definitely a team to keep an eye on. They could win their conference tournament and get a bid into the NCAA tournament this year. So, all right, let's move on. Trivia time.
One more.
Go for it.
British Luca is taking over. No, Cam Hildreth had 33 in his first game. I know I mentioned it on our last pod, but that was really exciting. And Kevin Miller actually transferred from Central Michigan. That's a sophomore. Was the guy who led Wake in the ultimate losing effort against Georgia. But he had a really solid game too. Andrew Carr keeps playing well. So exciting, even though we lost to Georgia, which is not a great loss. Still exciting to kind of get to play around with Wake Forest this year. Yeah.
No, Cam Hildreth has looked good. I mean, obviously the loss to Georgia didn't help them, but he looked good in it. So, yeah. All right, trivia time, Dal. I'm going to try and do a daily trivia question. So today's trivia question, this week's theme is the Sun Belt Conference in honor of the Dukes of James Madison. So, which two Sun Belt schools have double-digit NCAA tournament appearances?
All right, first question. How many Sun Belt teams do you think you could actually name?
Not many. Not many at all.
I think I probably could have gotten like 8 of these, but they're all from football and not.
Yeah.
Let's see. Is this while they've been in the Sun Belt or just in general?
This is while they've been in the Sun Belt, I believe. It's hard to tell.
One of them? I feel like that they had the run with Ron Hunter.
Nope.
Coastal, no. I'm trying to think of just like in the last little bit how often I've seen these teams in there. And it's Old Dominion.
Old Dominion's one.
Hell yeah. Banana bread at work. I love that sound on TikTok. But Louisiana
is too. Yep, they both have 10 appearances in the tournament. Just a bonus trivia question: who has the best win percentage of NCAA tournament appearances?
Of those two, or just in general?
Just in general.
Ooh, man, I don't know. Let's go App State.
It is James Madison, the Dukes.
Hey, the Dukes, baby.
They're 4 for 5. So yeah, they've won. They've won or 4 and 5. I should
4
say.
and 5.
Yeah, not 4 for 5. They're 4 and 5. So they're on the list. They're pretty close to getting into that double digit category there. Probably this year if the trend continues. So. Okay, time for Shark Tank upsets. So you know the deal. If it's been a while and maybe you haven't listened to our show before, Dal and I will each pitch each other a upset for the upcoming week. In this case, the upcoming half week, in which they have to use stats or reasoning to try and convince the other person to buy either a pint, a case, a keg, or the whole brewery. Or is that what it was? I don't know. It's been a while. Mini keg or keg, I don't know, something like that. The whole brewery,
keg, but I like the brewery aspect too.
Yeah,
if you're so bought in on
that whole brewery. So yeah, we'll do keg and then invest in that whole brewery. So let's go, Dal. What do you have? What are you pitching for me today?
All right. So I know that we talked about this team on Pac-12, and we were actually both high on this team. They lost one of their best players last year to a transfer, though, which can definitely throw a wrench in plans. I have Santa Clara taking on Stanford on Tuesday at 9 o'clock Eastern, and Stanford hasn't really been tested yet. Santa Clara is the third tallest team by average height in the country, and uses that to be really, really dominant on the offensive glass. Stanford is not a great defensive rebounding team. Santa Clara also has a bench that they use a ton. So in terms of just like bench minutes in general, I think they're like top 30, so they can run Stanford a little bit. And I think they use that advantage on the offensive boards and just an off shooting night from Stanford to get the win in at Maples Pavilion, which I did not know was the name of Stanford's arena. But
it's so hard to tell this early in the season,
yeah,
just because the stats are all like skewed. Obviously, don't love that it's on the road for Santa Clara. Don't love that it is because so far they are 324th in shooting free throw percentage. So, and then
that's gonna like balance out. That just means they're due for a
sure. You could say that about their turnover percentage and their 3-point percentage too.
No, you can't do that. Only in ways that help me, Connor. No,
Yeah.
the big thing is they are great at finishing around the basket. Their 2-point percentage is almost 63%. And their offensive rebounding, they're 50th in the country in that. And Stanford does not defensive rebound the ball well. That's really the main kind of spot where I'm expecting this. And Stanford's fine shooting the ball. They're shot 35% from three so far. But like, I mean, that doesn't make me confident that they are kind of foolproof on that end. So that's why I said it will take a down shooting night for them. But
well, and I'm looking at it also. They don't get to the line a lot. They don't make a lot of free throws. They're like 297th so far. I mean, obviously, again, small sample size, but not getting a lot of offensive rebounds. Not getting to the line for Stanford. So they just have to be good on offense then, and defensively. I mean, that shooting percentage for Santa Clara. I'm gonna buy a pint on this. Again, it's probably just too early in the season for me to invest in anything heavily. So I'm gonna go with a pint on this for right now.
fair
Could
enough.
change my mind as we get closer to the game though. So yeah. Okay. Then I am going to pitch Providence over Wisconsin on Wednesday at 6 p.m. Not a lot of good games going on this week, but this is one of those. Whereas I'm pulling up my notes here more on it. Is it not Wednesday? Is it Thursday? Am I crazy? All right, whatever. Sorry, this is bad podcasting. Tuesday. There we go. Yeah, I don't know why I said Wednesday, but either way, yeah. So Providence over Wisconsin. So watching that Wisconsin Tennessee game, one thing that stuck out to me is how like bothered they were by the defense of Tennessee, and I don't even think Tennessee's defense is that good. I think Providence has a really good defense. Now, technically, Wisconsin has the better defense in this matchup, so that's not my favor. But again, I think you're not in this for Providence offensively. I think you're in this for Wisconsin not showing up. Providence offense needs some work, but defensively they look really solid. Wisconsin offense is fine, but they can't defend a statue. Like they are not that as good as their KenPom ranking is. They don't foul a lot, or they foul too much, which I think would help with a struggling Providence offense, because Providence wants to get to the line in that scenario. They're like 65th in the nation or something like that. They don't. Providence doesn't turn the ball over too much, or they turn over a little bit. I'm reading the wrong side. But they get a lot of offensive rebounds, like you said. They finish decently at the rim, and I think Bryce Hopkins is the best player in this matchup. So that, I don't know. It's more of a gut feeling than anything.
Yeah, I wish they were playing Garway Dual more. He's only playing 36% of minutes this year. No, I definitely Bryce Hopkins does a great job at drawing free throws, like drawing fouls, drawing free throws,
Yeah.
which I think could definitely help Providence out. I'll buy a 6 pack on this. We're both high on the Big East in general, but Providence especially.
Yeah.
And like you said, anytime you get a team with the best player in a matchup, that normally works out pretty well for them in terms of college basketball performance. So Providence, I guess they really haven't been tested all that much, but they haven't looked like they've been tested either.
No.
So yeah, like I said, I'll buy a 6 pack. I'm down for this win.
Cool. All right. Then let's move on to the beer review. So I'm drinking what's called Barracuda. It is from Abita Brewing. They're in Abita Springs or Covington, Louisiana, which is a cool little town, fun little town. Definitely go check it out if you ever go to Louisiana. New Orleans specifically, if you get to drive across that the longest bridge in the United States or something like that. Yeah, really cool. But this is a Gulf Coast Cerveza. It's 5% ABV, 15 IBUs. It has an untapped ranking of 3.52. But I will say the crushability, I don't know why I put 3.5. The crushability is really a 5 out of 5. It is just like basic. It's kind of like a Corona in that sense of being crushable. The can or bottle design in this case, 3.5 out of 5. The Barracuda is cool, but besides that, it's kind of meh. Besides that, aroma smells like beer, so 2.5, just about average. Flavors 4 out of 5. Appearance 4 out of 5. So overall, I give this. We introduced on Twitter our new resident beer ranker, Sudsy. He's giving it a 3.5 out of 5 suds. So go check that out on Twitter. And we decided that since we're doing multiple episodes and I don't want to buy like 2 6-packs a week of beer, that we are going to split our beer review. So today's my beer review, and then Friday Dad will give us a beer to review as well. So keep this nice, short, and sweet. But I definitely recommend this. I know Abita has great beer. Purple Haze is a really popular beer from them. So you can't go wrong with Abita. If you ever go to Louisiana, they have a in-state exclusive. It's called the Boot. That's the best beer that they make. This is pretty close to it, I'd say. Purple Haze is pretty close to it, but the Boot is by far their best beer that they brew there in Abita Springs. Excuse me.
Right.
All right.
I always love a nice little Mexican lager cerveza kind of deal. So
yeah,
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah. Okay, so time for the Betalytics.com Pick'em Games of the Week. I haven't actually purchased my Betalytics package yet, so I haven't gone through these for props or anything. Speaking of which, Hard Rock Sportsbook is now legal in Florida, so that's been fun for me. Yeah. But they don't do player props for college basketball yet. I don't know why. Kind of dumb. Either way. Betalytics.com, pick 'em games of the week. So we have a decent slate of games for Monday through Thursday. So we'll start off with Monday and go down the list in chronological order here. So tonight, Michigan takes on St. John's. St. John's is a 2.5 point favorite. This is at 6:30 in Madison Square Garden, New York. Dow, what are you thinking on this one?
This will be a sweet game to go watch just because MSG is fun. I don't really trust Michigan yet, so we'll go St. John's.
Yeah, I don't. Michigan looked really good in that first game that they had, the first 2 games. But UNC Asheville, like Drew Pember, not a bad basketball player by any means, and they played some teams very close. Michigan kind of took it to them. I don't know. I'm probably going to go with St. John's here, though. I do think – actually, no, screw it. I'll go Michigan. Why not? I'll go Michigan on this one because I do think there's some early struggles with Pitino's St. John squad. And I think Juwan Howard is like coaching to keep his seat cool. So, yeah. Then we have Xavier versus Purdue. Purdue is a 17-point favorite. This is at – oh, wait. Well, not chronological, but this is at 8:30 at Purdue. So I'm going to go Purdue here. 17-point favorite. Seems a little hinky, but usually Purdue ends up covering teams that they play, so why not?
Yeah, I'm not gonna. I don't know if I'd be betting them to cover, but I definitely think they'll win.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing, right? I assume.
Yep. Just picking to win. So yeah, you and I both have Purdue there. Then we have at 7:00 in Pittsburgh, we have Florida Gulf Coast taking on Pitt. Pitt is a 9-point favorite in this matchup. I'm going the Eagles. I was going to say Golden Eagles, but they're not Golden Eagles. They're just the Eagles. So give me Florida Gulf Coast Eagles. Florida Gulf Coast had played Indiana last week on Tuesday, and they end up covering that. They lost, but they end up covering. But they have shot like I think 61% of their points distribution this season so far has come from three. This seems like one of those games where they could come in, start lighting up, feeling it as a road underdog. So I like them in this matchup.
I have a strong feeling on this. Pitt's at home, and you picked up Florida Gulf Coast, so I'll go with Pitt.
All right. Then we have Tuesday, moving on to Tuesday at 7 p.m. in the Champions Classic. We have Duke taking on Michigan State in Chicago. This is a Duke lock if I've ever seen one. They just lost to Arizona. They are not going to mess around, especially with this Michigan State team that cannot shoot the ball to save their lives. They made 1-3 on the season. Give me the Blue Devils in this one.
I'm going to go Michigan State. I think that Duke now Duke's always ready for these games. I'm going to go Duke.
Yeah.
I think that Michigan State not being able to shoot, I think that's kind of fluky. 1, 2, these games always seem like that they are a little bit like more brick heavy in terms of the teams just not being able to shoot. It's the biggest lights, obviously, giant, massive arena compared to what they're normally used to. So I feel like that might help Michigan State keep this one close, but I'll go Duke. If we're not doing to cover, I depending on what the line is.
Yeah, the line hasn't been announced yet, but yeah.
Michigan State would be a good bet to cover just because they'll probably be the underdog here, especially coming off that James Madison loss where they were. It's highly publicized, but I mean, like, they're not going to get 1 for 20 every day. So might be a Duke win, Michigan State cover.
Yeah. All right, then we have at 8:00 in Champaign, Illinois, Marquette Golden Eagles taking on the Fighting Illini of Illinois. I'm gonna let you go first and hear your reasoning, and then I'll go from there because this is
better. They have the best player. They might have the best. They probably have the best freshman as well. Kenneth Shannon Jr. is good, but I trust Marquette way more.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with Marquette as well. I'm a piggyback off our tailcoat yours there. All right, then at 9:30, they say 9:30, but it's not going to start till probably 10:00, 10:30. We have Kentucky taking on Kansas in Chicago, the second leg of the Champions Classic. I got to go Kansas on this one, as much as it hurts me. I think getting Aaron Bradshaw back, if he plays, is going to be very limited minutes. Still no word on Zvonimir Vicic transfer eligibility, or not transfer, but eligibility. What's that?
That was good pronunciation.
Thank you. I spent a week in Croatia one time, so I know.
There you go.
But yeah, the eligibility waiver, I don't know if he's going to be cleared yet. Hunter Dickinson is the best player in this matchup. I do trust Kentucky guards more, maybe not in this game, because this is one of those games where you can be like, wow, those guys just probably not ready for that atmosphere yet. So
yeah, I mean, they're great, and have a higher ceiling than Dwan Harris Jr., but he might be the best experienced point guard in the league, or like in the country this year. So yeah, I think I'm gonna go Kansas as well. Like you said, just don't love as much as I maligned Hunter Dickinson and did not want him to come to Kentucky. Yeah. He's still a really good college basketball player.
Yeah,
he's the most efficient offensive player in the country right now, and I just don't love without even a slightly healthy Aaron Bradshaw. Like you said, I don't think he plays enough minutes to really matter a ton. which means that we're just going to be kind of undersized going against him. Trey Mitchell is great and has played really well, but he's not a defensive stalwart. So yeah, I think they struggle down low. If Kentucky can get hot, they have a chance here, but I'll go Kansas.
Yeah. All right. Then we have Creighton and Iowa.
This game is going to be a banger.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. High scoring for sure.
Yeah. This is 1,000,000 to 1,000,002 stuff.
I don't know who I want to go with on this one. I'm a little on the fence on this one.
Whoever wins this just owns corn for the rest of eternity. They get to claim corn as theirs.
I would go Creighton here. They are like a top 10 KenPom team. They are like a top 25 team right now. Just I think it being a home game too helps. So yeah.
Yeah, I think Creighton just has too much. And as much as Iowa is fun, Creighton feels like that they're just like a better version of Iowa.
Yeah.
In terms of what they want to do from an offensive perspective, just lighten up the scoreboard. So I'll go Creighton as well.
All right, moving on to Wednesday, we have St. Peter's taking on Fairleigh Dickinson, the two upset teams of the last 2 years in the tournament.
At 7
p.m.
about this game.
I have Fairleigh Dickinson in this one. I think that they just got their butts kicked by Seton Hall, who St. Peter's kind of was competitive with. But I think Fairleigh Dickinson's better than that. They did beat Buffalo this season. And it looked like they beat Penn State according to their graphic, but it ended up being Penn State Brandywine. Still funny though, and I like Jack Castleberry. So give me the home team here. I'm going to take Fairleigh Dickinson as the underdog.
Who was the St. Peter's guy that dunked?
No idea.
Oh, Armani Ziegler. I'm picking St. Peter's strictly because Armani Ziegler dunked on a dude and like sent him literally into the stratosphere.
Yeah, so, that was nasty.
Yeah,
that was nasty.
We'll go with St. Peter's here.
All right, and then at 8:30 p.m. we have Georgetown taking on Rutgers in Jersey Mike's Arena. Dow, can any team come into Rutgers and beat and beat then beat Rutgers? No, we are taking Rutgers. At least I am. Also, this Georgetown team stinks. They stink out loud.
They're like rotten deli meat coming in.
Losing to Holy Cross by 1 on a buzzer. That's crazy.
It's not good.
Yeah. Not a great start to the Ed Cooley tenure. That's for sure. All right. Then we have Utah taking on Wake on Thursday at 9 p.m. in Charleston. Who you got?
Why do you make me do this? I mean, I'm looking at this KenPom matchup, trying to find something that I can convince myself that Wake's going to win this. I don't think that it happens as much as I would like it to. So I'm going to emotionally hedge and go Utah.
Just for that reason, I'm going to pick Wake.
Yes.
Maybe Wake will be your Duke. Like Duke was for me last year. Wake is going to be your Duke. So every time you pick them to lose, they win.
God, I wish so badly that would be the case, and I could leverage that.
No, I think Cam Hildreth is going to be the best player in this matchup. I watched Utah play UC Riverside the other night. I wasn't overly impressed with them. I just felt like they had better athletes than those teams, and respectfully so. I think Wake is going to be more competitive, so I think they can sneak out a win here. Plus, they're in Charleston. Like that's as close to Wake. It's way closer to Wake than Utah is.
That's true. That is true.
There you go. Almost like it's like a semi-home game for them. All right, and then earlier in that day at 4 p.m., we have Dayton taking on LSU. What do you think of this one?
Guys, this is close. They're literally 64th and 65th in KenPom.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go. So this is a weird one. Both these teams have been awful defending the three this year.
Yep.
Both of them have shot fairly well from three. I'll go I'll go LSU here just because one, they're probably going to have better athletes. They are much taller, and they are fifth in terms of forcing, or third in terms of forcing turnovers for their opponents. Granted, their like strength of schedule is not great. They played Mississippi Valley State and Nicholls State, but if they're really creating havoc on the defensive end, even if that takes a step back, I'll pick LSU, even though the best player in this game is going to be on the Dayton side.
Yeah, both of these teams are very weird to start. I don't know. They both already have a loss. I think Northwestern's a better loss for Dayton than LSU's loss to Nicholls,
Yes.
or Nicholls State, technically. I'm gonna go Dayton here. I do think like the best player is Deron Holmes, and he's going to absolutely feast. Because I don't trust the LSU defense so far. Even though they do force a lot of turnovers, the strength schedule, like you said, is really a big factor in that.
Yep.
I think Dayton relies more on the three, and I like that for some reason. I usually don't like that as much. But when you have the right people shooting them, I like it. So yeah. Give me Dayton in this one. All right. So
Cool.
that is our betalytics.com pick'em games of the week. All right, let's move on. You have a question for me?
Yep. I'm updating our sheet right now with the number of games we picked. Question of the day. So mentioned it earlier, was going to bring it up. Also mentioned on the last pod about Robert Dillingham being super efficient on offense. He's now not the fourth best player in terms of offensive rating after their second game. But curious, just as a Kentucky fan, what you enjoy more, which I feel like these are two of the big concerns coming into this season. So just kind of like where trying to like check the pulse. Are you more excited about the 14-3 assist to turnover ratio for DJ Wagner and Robert Dillingham, or the fact that Kentucky is in the top half of the country in 3-point attempts per field goal attempt?
I like the assist to turnover ratio because when push comes to shove, we know Cal will go kind of revert back to some of his older ways in terms of taking 20, 30 threes a game or whatever. It's not going to happen in grinded out games, just not. And that's okay when you're not making a lot. If you're making a lot, you keep shooting them. When you keep on trying to force something that's not working, perfect example would be West Virginia in the Sweet 16, and the John Wall team. Like they kept on forcing the three. It wasn't working. West Virginia was happy for them to keep shooting the three, and it's not working. So that's, it's going to balance out in terms of being in the top half of the country. I still think they'll stay in the top half of the country, but it's maybe not at the rate that they're at right now. 14-3 assist to turnover ratio for DJ and Dilly is crazy. And that is something that Cal would take every day of the week that ends in Y. Every year, you want that. You want that all the time. For being freshman guards, they're really taking care of the ball. And I was listening to Rep to No Good podcast the other day, and they're talking about Dillingham, and like he's gonna do some things that really make you want to pull your hair out. So far, he hasn't. Like there hasn't been a shot that I'm like, that was a stupid shot, or that was a stupid pass, or like, ooh, try to do too much. Like, what are you doing, Dilly? I haven't had to say that yet. Obviously, it's against lesser competition, but Rob Dillingham has looked very level-headed, and DJ Wagner has looked very green, making some right plays, but he's only going to get better. Dillingham is like way ahead of schedule, and so I think I like the 14-3 assist to turnover ratio.
So that's not what I expected. I think that both of these are kind of, you have to take with a grain of salt because of the competition they've played so far. It's obviously easy to take threes when you know that you can kind of go get a bucket whenever you want, and aren't playing the same like caliber of athletes. But no, it's especially, I think Dillingham's like 7-1 assist to turnover ratio. He's been super, super careful with the ball and not turning it over, which has been.
And I think one turnover, I could be wrong, but I think like the one turnover he has that like a couple that it was like good entry passes that were just fumbled by like Trey Mitchell or something like that. Like it wasn't even like he was trying to do too much. It was like more so the other person messed up, and that was it.
Yeah. That's pretty. It's been a pretty fun start to the year as a Kentucky fan, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like we've had bad starts the last couple of years, other than the 2020 team. But yeah, it's been fun. All right, last call. Here we go. I'm gonna let you go first.
Yeah, mine goes back to you saying that we don't have a line for even the Tuesday games. Give us lines before 2 days before a game. I understand why they don't do it because there's a lot of moving parts, and it's basketball isn't like the NFL where you are constantly there's a very strict structure for injury reports and stuff like that. But part of the fun of gambling on football is that you talk about it all weekend, watch it and you do analysis. There's very little time to really do true betting analysis, just because you have such a quick turnaround on games. So
you should have it 24 hours less, or a little bit more than 24 hours out. I should have been able to wake up this morning and been all right, Kentucky's favored or Kansas favored by 2 or whatever. Those lines haven't been released yet for tomorrow night.
Stupid. Let me go check on what the Dayton LSU spread is going to be, and let me put a little parlay on that and the Utah Wake Forest game, so that if I'm watching those games on Thursday, that I can already have an idea of what to expect. Just frustrating.
I mean, even then, I'm okay with those being they're not releasing those like you said. There's a lot of moving parts, and especially this early in the season where teams are still they're still figuring out strength of schedule, what teams are actually good versus what teams are just fluky, kind of deal. But Monday, you should have every Tuesday night games line. And then on Tuesday, you should have every Wednesday night's game line. It should not be waiting actually 24 hours. I shouldn't be 9:30 tonight. Shouldn't be the first time I'm seeing a line for the Kentucky-Kansas game. I'm with you 100%. Yeah. My thing is we're in the early season. My last call is we're in the early season. If the media and the higher ups and everybody that's complaining about how bad the early season college basketball season is, which is false, but sure, let's look at these matchups that aren't marquee matchups outside of 4 games a week. Sure. Then you have to have more grace come Selection Sunday for if you want teams to take bigger risk in November, then you need to give a little bit more grace for taking those risks in November come Selection Sunday. Because there's definitely no incentive to schedule tough teams in the early non-conference for some of these conference teams when you have no grace to them at all. You don't factor in the quality of their opponents in their conferences at all. So it really this is where Gonzaga benefits the most. They can schedule this super tough non-conference team because they're going to win out in their freaking conference, and they'll have all the recency bias come Selection Sunday. So it's might as well you schedule these tough teams to boost your strength of schedule. If you split your non-conference games, then it doesn't hurt you. Even if you lose all your non-conference games, it probably still doesn't hurt you if you win out. You'll still make the tournament, maybe not the seed you want, but Kentucky, if they were to keep the a really weak strength of schedule in the non-conference and then only play the Champions Classic and that's it, then they would absolutely get torched. Come if they were to lose some games to quality SEC opponents and come Selection Sunday. Now flip it. If they scheduled super tough non-conference teams, they'd still get torched come Selection Sunday if they split it or lost some games. So it's just frustrating that they want these top teams to schedule top teams in November and December.
Because it's good for the sport.
There's no incentive to. What does it help them? It doesn't.
Yeah, it theoretically does on the back end, but it has been kind of hit or miss on whether that actually gets comes to light when they're doing the selection process. So yeah, it's definitely, I feel it's just mixed signals at this point. Feels like a moving target to try and make the tournament. So when you're scheduling, even if you're doing your schedule as last minute as possible, it's just tough to know what they're going to value and what the best way to construct your schedule is.
I almost wonder if they need to do an approach like the NBA, maybe not an actual mid-season tournament, but give some sort of incentive for scheduling tougher teams in the non-conference, or if you're Kentucky, if you're Duke, if you're whatever, like go play the PK85s or whatever. Like play these bigger events that if you get a good matchup, great, and if you lose that matchup, who cares? Like it's just it's a PK85 tournament. Because those don't seem to hurt them other teams when they do them. But like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just frustrating how they talk about how like it's bad for the sport when you got these teams and like in the top 50 teams playing 300 sub 300 teams or whatever. Like that's tune-up games. Like you don't see that in college football. Why? Because there's 11 weeks of college football, 12 weeks.
Well, you do see that in college football. Like,
you do, but yeah, like it's
times a week.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah,
they need to implement like a Champions League and a Europa League style mid-season thing, similar to soccer, where like the top 32 teams go play in a like playoff setting. Maybe you take like the Sweet 16 teams from last year. You take like the final four from the NIT and like a couple other things and mix them together to make like a 32 team tournament that everyone plays out. That kind of stuff would be fun. It definitely feels like there are ways they can make the early season mean more and be more engaging.
Yeah. I mean, if like true college basketball fans are going to watch regardless of who they play. That's why so it really doesn't matter. It seems like the media just wants to create a problem where there really isn't one. So this is just my rebuttal to that. It's like, if you like college basketball, you're going to watch, one thing I'll say, and this is the last thing I'll say, Barstool broadcast was absolutely trash. You should never be calling a game and telling them to shoot it to cover a spread. Like, no way should that happen ever. And then also, what was that? It also, like, somebody else brought up the point in what game was it? Was it Arizona and Duke where they were like, that should be Duke ball? I think it was. I'm pretty sure there was it was an analyst, like one of the commentators, like, yeah, he's Tommy Lloyd's yelling at me. No, it was Virginia and Florida. That's what it was. Virginia Tech and Florida. It was like it should be Florida ball because it really should have been. Why the officials aren't looking at other angles? They're only looking at one angle is beyond me. But like they literally, like, the Virginia Tech player slaps it out of the Florida player's hands, Kugel's hands, and it goes out of bounds. And they're like, oh, it's Virginia Tech ball. There's like 4 angles on the broadcast. The refs are only looking at one angle. What are we doing here? Like, you should be checking every angle all the time in under 2 minutes. There's a minute left. And the analyst's like, that should be Florida ball. You need to look at that again. And then who's the Virginia Tech coach now? I can't think of it. Anyways, he's yelling at the commentator and the broadcaster. And the broadcaster's like, yeah, he's yelling at me as a former Virginia Tech guy. Anyways, absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy that happened. But yeah, so doesn't matter. The Virginia Tech got the win, or Virginia, not Virginia Tech. I keep on saying that, but so Tony Bennett, yeah, he was yelling at the commentator, but it was just crazy. All right, let's get out of here. This has been really fun. We have, again, keeping track with on the pick'em games. So we'll post polls each day. You guys go vote for them. We'll recap them, see if you guys pick correctly. And then we'll compare it to our picks. And then, yeah, they'll be fun. You can follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Beers and Buckets Pod. You should check out our YouTube channel if you're watching along on YouTube. Thank you. And keep doing that. That helps us. Like and share this video. And yeah, check out Variety Sports Network on Twitter for more shows like this one. Hoops Southbound, great show. Again, we had him on last Sunday. David's a wizard in SEC hoops, so you should go check him out. So yeah, make sure you check out other shows like this one at Variety Sports, Variety_Sports_. And yeah, this has been real. This has been fun. This has been real fun. You guys have a fantastic week. We'll catch you Friday.
Peace.